Number 1. Welcome to Intervlog, where we explore stories shaping Africa and the world through facts, balance, and the pursuit of understanding. Today, our focus turns to Tanzania, a nation once praised for stability, now witnessing waves of unrest following a controversial election. From Dar es Salaam to Mwanza, from Dodoma to Mbeya, protests have erupted. Roads are barricaded, bonfires burn, and for many Tanzanians, questions about democracy and freedom echo louder than ever before. On Wednesday, Tanzanians went to the polls in a presidential and parliamentary election. The contest, however, was far from ordinary. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, the country's first female leader, sought a second term. But opposition parties, including the main challenger CHADEMA, say the election was a sham, marred by repression and exclusion. Their argument: key opposition leaders were barred or detained before the vote. Tundu Lissu, the main opposition figure, remains in prison on treason charges he denies. Another strong contender, Luhaga Mpina of ACT Wazalendo, was disqualified over legal technicalities. As results began to emerge, showing President Samia winning nearly 95% of the vote in Mbeya province and leading across the mainland and Zanzibar, anger spilled into the streets. Thursday morning dawned to the sound of sirens, gunfire, and chants of defiance. From Dar es Salaam to Mwanza, protesters clashed with police. Tear gas filled the air, roads were blocked, and reports of injuries began to surface. An eyewitness in Mwanza told the BBC, "After barely 10 minutes, we started hearing gunfire and tear gas explosions. We saw people being evacuated, some injured, some unconscious." The government responded by ordering civil servants to work from home until Friday, citing security concerns. A nighttime curfew was imposed in Dar es Salaam, and hospitals such as Muhimbili were reportedly overwhelmed with the wounded. Amid the tension, internet connectivity across Tanzania was severely disrupted, limiting the ability of citizens to communicate, share information, or verify what was truly happening on the ground. Rights group Amnesty International called the blackout deeply disturbing, warning that silencing communication during a crisis could further inflame the situation. The unrest didn't stop at Tanzania's borders. At the town of Namanga, which straddles the frontier between Tanzania and Kenya, hundreds of protesters crossed into Kenyan territory. They barricaded roads, tore down posters of President Samia, and lit bonfires. Kenyan police reported that 2 people died while fleeing clashes with Tanzanian forces. The Kenyan government swiftly issued a warning to its citizens, urging them not to participate in demonstrations at the border. Businesses at Namanga were paralyzed. The usually busy trade route between the two nations fell silent as fear replaced commerce. The international community has not remained silent. Members of the European Union Parliament called the election a fraud that had been unfolding for months, condemning what they described as a deliberate undermining of democracy. Meanwhile, the United States Embassy in Tanzania confirmed that major roads, including those leading to Dar es Salaam International Airport, remained closed, complicating evacuation and travel plans for foreigners. The British government issued travel advisories after flights to and from Dar es Salaam, Arusha, and Kilimanjaro were cancelled. Diplomatic sources cited reports of fatalities, with numbers ranging from 5 to 10, though these figures remain unverified. Despite curfews and heavy police presence, protests continued on Thursday in several neighborhoods. Witnesses told Reuters that police fired both tear gas and live ammunition to disperse crowds. In Dar es Salaam, some demonstrators shouted slogans such as, "We want our country back." For them, this was more than an election. It was about reclaiming a voice they felt had been silenced. Human rights activist Tito Magoti put it this way: "The people are rewriting our political culture, from being cows, if I use this word respectfully, to being active citizens, a nation under lockdown." By late Thursday, Tanzania was in partial lockdown. The government extended its work-from-home directive to Friday. Airports were closed, curfews tightened, and a country once seen as a model of stability in East Africa now faced a moment of deep uncertainty. Amid the blackout, Protesters reportedly turned to Zello, a walkie-talkie app, to coordinate movements and share updates. Authorities accused bad characters of spreading, while critics accused the state of overreach and repression. The Tanzania Broadcasting Corporation, the state-run outlet, continued airing partial election results, each confirming President Samia's dominance across multiple constituencies. The president's journey, from hope to controversy. President Samia Suluhu Hassan came to power in 2021 following the death of her predecessor, John Magufuli. At first, she was praised for her softer tone, easing restrictions, reopening the political space, and promoting reconciliation. But that perception has changed. Over the last year, the opposition and rights groups allege that a wave has swept the nation, including abductions of critics, arrests of activists, and tighter control over the media. President Samia said she ordered investigations into abductions, but no findings have been released. As Amnesty International noted, the right to information and freedom of expression are not privileges. They are pillars of democracy. Across the semi-autonomous islands of Zanzibar, the atmosphere has been tense, but relatively calmer. Still, there are reports of arrests and intimidation of voters. Opposition members say ballot boxes were tampered with, and polling agents were blocked from observation. Historically, Zanzibar's elections have been flashpoints for unrest. Today, the archipelago again finds itself caught between the hopes of democracy and the fear of repression. Beyond politics, the economic cost of unrest is mounting. Shops in major cities remain closed. Transport is disrupted. Tourism, one of Tanzania's main revenue sources, is under threat as travelers cancel trips. Hospitals are running low on supplies as wounded civilians and officers are brought in. Electricity and communication cuts have made coordination difficult for aid organizations. As one doctor at Muhimbili Hospital reportedly said, "We are seeing many casualties, but we cannot even call for more staff. The phones are dead." The unrest in Tanzania is being closely watched by its neighbors. East Africa, already grappling with tensions in Ethiopia, Sudan, and parts of Kenya, now faces the risk of another crisis zone. Analysts warn that if unrest persists, cross-border refugee movements could follow, particularly toward Kenya and Uganda. Kenya, which shares deep trade and cultural ties with Tanzania, has already tightened security along its border, fearing that the protests might spill over. Swahili parables and reflections. In times of crisis, African wisdom often offers guidance. Let's reflect on 3 Swahili proverbs that echo through this moment. Maji yakimwagika hayazoleki. When water is spilled, it cannot be gathered back. This reminds us that when trust in democracy is lost, rebuilding it takes more than apologies. It requires transparency, accountability, and dialogue. Samaki mkunje angali mbichi. Bend the fish while it is still fresh. It means that leadership must act early, not after divisions have hardened. The sooner reforms are made, the better a nation can heal. Usipo ziba ufa, utajenga ukuta. If you do not seal a crack, you will build a wall. This speaks to prevention. If small injustices are ignored, they grow into larger crises that divide people and nations. These proverbs, simple yet profound, remind us that democracy, like a home, must be maintained, cared for before it crumbles. The role of technology and the fight for information. In the digital age, controlling information is as powerful as controlling territory. The blackout across Tanzania shows how fragile the flow of truth can be. Activists resorted to VPNs, satellite devices, and offline messaging apps to communicate. But even then, misinformation spreads fast, and clarity remains scarce. International observers say such communication restrictions risk deepening mistrust, as citizens feel cut off from both each other and the world. Across Africa, a generational shift is underway. Young people are demanding new forms of leadership, accountable, transparent, and participatory. In Tanzania, where the median age is under 20, many protesters are students, workers, and first-time voters. They chant not just against a leader, but against a system they feel excludes them. Their message, echoed across Nairobi, Kigali, and Kampala, is clear. Our future cannot be decided without us. From Addis Ababa to Abuja, leaders are watching Tanzania closely. Some see in these protests a warning that ignoring calls for reform can backfire. Others see them as a test of how far citizens are willing to go to defend their democratic rights. For decades, Tanzania was known for its calm, a nation that avoided the conflicts that scarred many of its neighbors. But today's events show that even the most peaceful nations can face storms when justice is questioned. The way forward. As of now, President Samia's victory appears inevitable. Her party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, CCM, has never lost an election since independence. Yet legitimacy, as analysts say, is not just won at the ballot box. It is earned through trust. Rebuilding that trust may require open dialogue, independent investigations, and perhaps reforms to ensure inclusivity in future elections. The government, for its part, insists it acted to preserve order. Critics argue that stability cannot be sustained through fear. The truth, as always, lies somewhere in between. Ukweli unauma, lakini huponya. Truth hurts, but it heals. This Swahili proverb captures the challenge facing Tanzania today. The road to healing begins with honesty about what went wrong, who was hurt, and how the nation can move forward together. From the streets of Dar es Salaam to the quiet shores of Lake Victoria, Tanzania stands at a crossroads. The people's cry for democracy meets the state's demand for order, and somewhere in between lies the future of a nation. As protests continue, curfews remain, and communication lines flicker on and off. One thing is certain: Africa and the world are watching. This is Intervlog, bringing you stories not just of conflict, but of courage. Stories that remind us that democracy is not a destination, but a journey. This is the end of our program today. See you on Intervlog, same time tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get new video updates. Thank you for watching Intervlog. Thank you.